I see it. Holy shit. Look at that. Look at that. Slid into home. Okay, so holy shit. We're back. It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Went from Ohio to Massachusetts, 12 hours from home. It was packing and unpacking were the worst part. Packing is done, obviously. The unpacking is still not. You can't see because of this fancy background that my wonderful co-host made for me. I'm sitting in a room surrounded by towers of boxes. I have not fully unpacked everything yet. Um, but hey, quick shout out to Whitner's Moving in Columbus, Ohio. It is a black-owned moving company, black-owned business. Um, Mr. Whitner and the crew, um, Deontay and Ozzy, you guys were freaking amazing. I mean, they wouldn't even let me carry stuff to my car, like the little things. They were like taking it out of my hands and stuff. I was like, um, they have nothing but five-star reviews on Google. Nothing but, not one review that is less than 5 stars. So shout out to Whitner's Moving. If you're anywhere in the US, they will move you interstate. They will come and get you and they will take you where you got to go. So thank you again, Cyrus Whitner. Yes, it was awesome. But I'm here. We're back, and we're gonna call this sort of a not even a reimagining. We're not gonna change anything, but like we're getting started. We did miss our 1 year anniversary, but that we did, but and I think what we're gonna do is just celebrate that over the next several episodes. I've got my captain's log here now that I'm keeping all my notes in so that we can stay on track with what we're doing. But we're just gonna pick up right where we left off. And what episode are we doing today? Yeah, the Gamesters of Triskelion. Yes, yes. Um, we we had to get Kirk. We had to get Kirk's shirt off again, right? It's rip it or lose it entirely, one way or the other. You got to lose the shirt, Mr. Shatner. You got to lose the shirt. But I want to make sure that we we pay our weight in Quatlus today, which is the official currency of the gamesters of Triskelion, the providers, as they are called. And I am going to give you um, a real quick rundown. So, um, before we get into the breakdown of the episode, we all know that Kirk and some crew members are kidnapped by these entities called the Providers, where they're forced to train and battle each other, or and battle monsters and stuff like that. And the Providers bet this currency called Quatlus. Um, each of the three crew members, Chekov, Uhura, and Kirk, who are the ones that are kidnapped in this episode, are trained by what's called a thrall. Um, each of the three thralls, Shauna, Lars, and Tamoon, all three of those actors are dead. All three of those actors have passed away. Angelique Pettyjohn, who played Shauna, passed away on February 14th, 1992, of cervical cancer. She was a burlesque dancer known for her roles in Batman, Green Hornet, to name a few. And she was one of the dancers at the beginning of The Odd Couple, with Walter Matthau and that other guy. Jane Ross, who played Tamoon, passed away June 27, 1985. This was her only television role. And finally, Steve Sandor, who played Lars, outlasted all of them. He died at 79 on April 5th, 2017, and is also known for A-Team, Knight Rider, Fall Guy, and Chips. And that is in the captain's log. That's a threefer. You get a threefer today. I mean, I could go on. Even that the head thrall, he's gone. He's passed away. Joseph Ruskin, uh, or whatever. We don't. I could just. I think I could list. We could spend the episode talking about everybody who's not alive on this episode. It seems to be right. I mean, because even as Scotty's getting ready to beam them down, they just vanish from the transporter pads. Like I don't know what happened, Commander. They just vanished. The sir. Reasons they don't know yet, but they got these cool collars on now. The little with the little white crystals on them. For now, they're white. Well, and given the time period, yeah, they weren't going to let Uhura go shirtless. Now, if this were like you were we were saying in pre-show, if this were Andor in the modern era, it, it, we're getting nip. You know, we're getting full nip here. Yeah. Uh, there'll be a lesbian makeout scene between Uhura and her trainer or another trainer. I think she had the male trainer, but I think she had Lars. Talmoon was Chekhov. Talmoon Trent was Chekhov's thrall, and Shauna was Kirk's. Of course, the burlesque dancer. And if you needed any further proof that Star Trek is woke, Shauna has green hair. You can't believe Star Trek is so woke now. Yeah, it's been woke since green hair, right? We haven't even gotten to the interracial kiss yet. The green hair, with the green hair, the wokeness. Oh, and they can't escape, they can't run, they can't really question much. I mean, they can question a little bit, but you know, the those cool little collars that they got, and this is not the first time Star Trek has delved into some kind of device that just causes pain, you know, be it a, you know, it reminds me kind of the what was the episode, the two-parter Gambit in TNG when Picard was on that ship pretending to be that archaeologist and they're going after that ancient Vulcan weapon and the commander's got those patches on everybody and he just hits that little thing on his belt. It's, I mean, or the was it Spock's brain where the lady has the little thing on her belt. She just turns a knob and everybody falls over in pain. I mean, I mean, it's going to be a sad day when somebody actually comes up with that technology. Yeah, and like I don't know what happened. Officer, everyone just fell down, and the cashier was there. I had to go. I couldn't stick around. I'm not a medical professional. I just checked out and I left. And I might not even do it if it's like I'm in line and there's three people in front of me. But I mean, like if I get into the self checkout, which is like 1 to 12 items, people, 1 to 12 items, and you've got a full shopping cart, I'm hitting the pain button. Bring the pain. Bring it. It's time. Oh, like has a belt and everything, like a conveyor belt and stuff. That one, fair. Yeah, the one with the wheel that has like four bag slots. I'm sorry, no, and you've got like 17-pound turkeys and 47 pounds of ground beef. But I mean, I'm not accusing you. I'm not judging your diet. Believe me, my new roommate, she has champagne tastes and wants so bad for me to participate, but I have a peanut butter budget. Okay, so he has steak while I'm having ramen noodles. Yeah, until Paramount starts paying us for this. Come on, guys. No, I know. I have sat here in my room. I've been here just over 3 weeks now in my new home, watching Star Trek all day long. From the time I get up and start work, long past after the time I log off of work, all night long. I fall asleep to Star Trek on my computer. Come on, come on, help a girl out here. Yeah, and if I'm watching on Pluto TV, I can just skip back and forth between the different series. Like, oh, hey, look at this episode's on Voyager today. I'm gonna watch that episode. Or, oh, look, we're at this sequence in the Dominion War DS9. I gotta watch that. And look, O'Brien is suffering again. I definitely have to watch that. I mean, yeah, ignore us. You got to ignore us and shit. Anyway, yes, the thralls, lose. They're providing quat lose. Mhm. Yeah. Disembodied voices. Very much like gosh, what's the one episode? I don't know if we've even gotten to that one yet. The one where Kirk and crew find the three people living in the little bubble things, and then they let them borrow their bodies for a while they build android receptacles. Then yeah, then the Spock one is evil and wants to kill the other one, and it's we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, disembodied voices, not a new thing in Star Trek again. A lot of recurring themes. I think we've mentioned that multiple times that you see a lot of recurring themes. Right, right, yeah. Evil AI, artificial intelligence is a thing, robots and stuff. So, the wannabe bodied and yeah. But again, the providers they're really digging their quatloos. So they have like a little auction where they bid for the thrall for I guess the new thralls, Kirk and Chekov and Uhura. This is when they get their colors. This is when they get their colors. The little crystals on their collars change different colors to represent which of the providers. And let's be clear, the provider that won Kirk in the auction, he got the upper end. He got the upper hand in that deal. You know, no offense to Chekhov and Uhura, but not really the ones I think of when it comes to hand combat. They're not like it's always Kirk. Right, but if anyone who was watching our last episode, which arguably was a couple months ago because of our little hiatus, was the trouble with tribbles, and poor Chekhov was getting thrown around in that bar fight. He was very spirited. He tried. He did a little thing though. He did a little thing. Fear, fear not, Chekhov. At least your son will someday become president of the Federation. There's your claim to fame. Your son Anton will become president of the Federation and preside over a massive board takeover of the entire organization. So I think a resignation is coming down the pipeline. But anyway, impeachment or something. Or he could just pull a Trump and be like, I don't know about that. I didn't know that happened. What happened? I don't know about that. It wasn't me. Pull the Shaggy defense. It's the Shaggy maneuver. It wasn't me. Defensive pattern Shaggy. It wasn't me. Shaggy Alpha. What's it mean? Uh, so, but Kirk, shirtless Kirk, he's going to make sure that his shirtless heel does not go right. So him and Shauna are out for a little jog, a brisk jog one morning. Oh, make the moves. Defensive pattern, Kirk shirtless alpha. So yeah, he tries to and their little dog too. Right, right. Because yeah, he tries to I don't know seduce her, and it's fairly successful because she's fallen for it, but then she gets punished, and Kirk is like, no, no, you should have punished me. I made her do this, and like, fine, you've been naughty. Go back to your cell. They love to bet. Now I'm thinking that we need to come up with a new cryptocurrency, and we're going to call it Quatlus, the Quatlu coin. How do you make your own cryptocurrency? Rules of Nerdquisition official cryptocurrency is the Quatlu coin. Uh, I mean, I did read an article yesterday that said that this leading financial guy was like, "Hey, you need to invest in crypto now because the everything else in the economy is going to crash. We are all doomed." Investing. I was like, "Okay, that sounds a bit extreme." It's a little bit. Stay tuned for the Tron Quatlu coin. Anyway, we're betting some Quatlus here. Kirk is like, "I got something. I'll bet you something better than Quatlus." Everybody, right? And the providers are like, "What do you mean, everyone?" And Kirk is like, "Everyone." Oh wait, no, wrong move. Wrong show. Wrong show. Sorry. Captain Kirk, played by Gary Oldman. Everyone. But but if they lose, and I don't know. I mean, If I were just some random person on the Enterprise, I mean, now I know Lieutenant Leslie makes another appearance here. The more I do this rewatch of the original series, I'm surprised at how many recurring characters there are in the background, which I mentioned earlier in the pre-show that I went down multiple rabbit holes, actually, Star Trek rabbit holes. Because there were a lot of guest characters in TNG that showed up for one or two episodes that never came back again. You always wondered what happened to them. Okay, you got Robin Leffler, who was played by Ashley Judd, showed up in two episodes. She makes sense because she's a big time actress. She's and part of a famous family. She probably priced out. What about Ensign Sonia Gomez? She was in the episode Q Who spilled the chocolate milk all over Picard's uniform. And she showed up in another episode too. She never showed up again. But Leslie, this guy, he appeared in each of the three seasons of the original series in multiple episodes, as did Commander Lieutenant Kyle. At this point, he becomes Commander Kyle on the Reliant, but we've talked about him before. So yeah, I just thought it was interesting. But I'd be like, hey, can you not bet with my life if all I get to do is sit here and watch? I mean, at least the providers turned on the TV on the Enterprise and said, "Hey, you can check this out. This is your boss. Just bet your lives." You're a thrall. Yeah. No, never again. Like, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of things happen on the Enterprise. That is clear. And you got to wonder, is every other starship in the Federation, every other starship in Starfleet, do they all have like equally insane adventures all the time? I mean, spatial anomalies, time phenomena, artificial intelligence, disembodied brain people. I mean, right. Oh, and according to Starfleet, though, anytime there's some kind of like, I don't know, intergalactic catastrophe, well, why is the Enterprise the only ship in the quadrant? And quadrants are big. There's only four of them in the galaxy. There's only four. Always there. I mean, fair. Well, according to Star Trek Online, it's just a bunch of people running around and like jumping. And like if you're trying to get a mission from somebody, this random guy will walk up to you and just jump next to you and duck and stand up. And you're just like, okay, weird random person who's just happens to be in the game with me right now, trying to get my attention for some reason or another. But okay. Right, right, exactly. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, you weird random players in these MMOs. Why? Yeah, true. I mean, some ships, you know, encounter these other things, but they don't always thrive the way the Enterprise does. Look at the Saratoga, which, um, was one of the first ships to encounter the alien whale probe, basically just went useless. The Constellation destroyed by the Dookie Day machine. So the ship bomb brings a whole new meaning to the term captain's log. Captain's loaf number two. Oh, oh my God. I want a precision phaser beam. We need to cut that cheese. And this is the moment when rules of Nerdquisition devolved into third grade poop jokes. It happens. So yeah, Kirk like fights these dudes and kills like two of these monsters like right off the bat and injures the third. And, like he went full Kirk mode there. He went full on Enterprise because he kicks ass when a shirt gets ripped, but when he ain't got one on, the it ceases to become Star Trek and becomes Gladiator in space. It is often associated with a mock time, but it is pretty standard hand-to-hand combat music in the Star Trek universe, at least in the original series. So yeah. What the hell? Why did who bet my Kirk? God damn it again. And just as speaking of the Trek battle theme, though, this duel was parodied in the Simpsons episode Deep Space Homer, in which NASA scientists wagering Quatloos watches Simpson fights Barney Gumble in arena as the Trek battle theme plays in the background. This this was this was apparently parodied a few times because the love between Kirk and Shauna was referenced in the South Park episode Hooked on Monkey Phonics. What? Yeah, yeah, and also in trivia, the popular Star Trek catchphrase "Beam me up, Scotty," which is a common misquotation. Um, one of the phrase that actually is it's derived from was uttered in this episode, "Scotty, beam us up." So just with the proper noun in the beginning as opposed to the end. And just for anybody wandering by, I know you all get upset about Star Trek being woke. When I said proper noun, that is not the same thing as a pronoun. So your English education lesson for today, a proper noun is your name. So have a nice day. Thanks for stopping by. The moral of the story is anyway, Kirk wins. Of course he wins. And makes a point to say, hey, how is it that us primitives are teaching you or teaching lower, how is it humans are teaching primitive people how to survive and take care of themselves when you as the providers say that you can't? You just shows the limitations of a brain in a brain in a bubble. Bubble brain. The se the sequel to Bubble Boy. Bubble brain. Ah, no, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. But ultimately, Kirk has to fight Shauna as well, because Galt, who's like the weird robotic main thrall guy, who's like, but he's like whatever. He's just subdues her. Like, tip man, you got to try it. You can't fault a guy for trying. I mean, you're out in space. It's been a while. You get that itch. You got, you know, and we all loved Yeoman Rand, but that poor woman's been traumatized enough, Kirk. You should just leave her alone at this point. Leave the poor girl alone. Just say no to Kirk. There's some serious trauma because I mean, when she does make an appearance in the movie Star Trek the Motion Picture, when the two crew members die on the transporter pad, and Kirk looks over at her and says, "It's not your fault, Rand. There's nothing you could do." And she just kind of looks at him with that disgusted look on her face. She ain't thinking about the people on the transporter pad. She's like, "Don't talk to me, you pig. You pig. After all the shit you put me through, I can't believe I'm still on this damn ship." She's like Ensign Kim. Like, can the poor person get a freaking promotion for Christ's sake? Right, until we get a glimpse of the future in Endgame. But oh, he's captain now. Promotion. My good guy. What do you got to do to get a little promotion around here? So to wrap this up, because this leads into my rabbit hole, and I've got to discuss this. This is very important. But obviously, Kirk subdues Shauna. She surrenders. The crew of the Enterprise is watching from their ship, and finally, um, you know, Kirk wins, and they have to let him go. Collars are unlocked, and Shauna expresses her desire to follow Kirk to the stars. But they have to learn about their new freedom first. You gotta learn some things first. How about we get back to your place? Well, we can't go back to my place because right now I'm living with a friend. I'm living with a friend, and we can't bring girls home. Like I live in their basement. Like right, right, yeah, right. Yeah, well, Kirk, you're going to get some of your comeuppance, especially when you get to a certain whale biologist. You know, but anyway, we'll cross that ocean when we'll sail across that ocean when we get to it. In 2017, the Den of Geek ranked this episode as the 12th best worst episode of Star Trek, the original series. 12th of the best worst. It is a fun episode, yeah. And it's got all of the tropes. It's got all of the tropes. It's got the disembodied brains. It's got shirtless Kirk. It's got a little Mac Daddy action going on. It's got some wokeness with the green hair, and you get a little screen time for Chekhov and Uhura. Not much, but some pain machines, remote pain machines. Enterprise in danger. The entire crew of the Enterprise in danger. Always, every episode. Now, next week is a monumental episode for you. That is a very important episode. She. So yeah, make sure to join in next week and get a piece of the action. See, turn it on. Turn it on to podcast. Oh my God. Anyway, May the 4th. Yeah. But even before we do that, I again, I need to talk. This rabbit hole thing has got me going crazy. Um, in pre-show, we were kind of talking a little bit about recurring characters, like we mentioned a little bit ago. I'm going to skip over that part. It's not as important to me right at the moment. But one of them is, and that's that Robert Duncan McNeil, who played Ensign Lucano. What episode was that? I don't know. I should have done my research first. Locarno, not Locarno. Locarno. This is something that interests me. Now, it kind of goes along with so it was Nicholas Locarno, and he was the leader of the squadron that Wesley was in at the Starfleet Academy, and they were going to do the culvert starburst maneuver, and they screwed it up, and one of the cadets died and stuff like that. Locarno, played by Robert Patrick Neal, ended up being expelled because he tried to lie and cover it up, and Wesley exposed him, but he owned up to it. Anyway, they talked about why didn't Robert Patrick, not the Terminator, Robert Patrick, Robert Duncan McNeil, why he didn't play Locarno again in Voyager. And this is what kind of bothers me. I read an article that said that Locarno was believed by the Star Trek producers to be irredeemable, which I thought was interesting given if you look at Lieutenant Paris's background. He was in a shuttle accident that killed three people. He lied about it, covered it up, was guilty, admitted to it, was court-martialed for it, kicked out of Starfleet, and then recruited by Chakotay to join the Maquis as a mercenary pilot. That is somehow more redeemable than trying to do something flashy for a commencement speech or something, and one person dies and you lied about it, but eventually everybody came clean. Does it seem like that's less redeemable to me, to you, to anyone? I'm confused. The both characters essentially did the same. Both characters essentially did the same thing in which there was a piloting error accident, but Paris caused the deaths of three people. Locarno caused the death of one, and he was not the only person guilty. The other ensigns, cadets, were equally guilty in that participation. And Locarno did not go join the Maquis, which is essentially becoming a traitor to the Federation and to Starfleet in general. Look at Roe. She was a traitor once, went to prison already, was reinstated, became a traitor again, and then was reinstated again. Third time she was reinstated. So, I mean, I don't buy that excuse. And this is where I went down that rabbit hole. And I think it's just that they didn't want to pay the writers who came up with the character of Locarno royalties to use the name that they of the character they created. So they just created another one. Where in my mind, in my head canon, Locarno and Paris are the same person. Just like Tarek from Lower Decks, the episode of TNG, is the same Vulcan on Voyager, same actor, but is Vorik. And tell me why Freighter to the Federation is promoted to lieutenant, and poor Ensign Kim has to wait until some pseudo future flash forward to even get a promotion from ensign. I mean, come on, come on. It's a, I mean, they say some people could say like, well, there's we don't want too many lieutenants, and this and that. But okay, how come every Starfleet captain though eventually becomes an admiral? Every single one. Riker becomes an admiral. Card becomes an admiral. Kirk became an admiral. Janeway became an admiral. Okay, Cisco didn't become an admiral, but he became a god instead. So but that's a better promotion. When someone asks you if you want to be a god, you say yes. I think I'll just be an admiral. And I can Beverly Crusher, she becomes an admiral at the end, unless your name is unless your name is Harry Kim. Yeah. You don't you're just gonna be an ensign for life. It, isn't there an episode called The Ensigns of Command? Because that's all you'll ever be, sir. The ensign of command. You can hang out with Rand, who was I think a yeoman forever, but I kind of think maybe she did one universe, a future that never even happened. Right. And you know what's even sadder about this is that Aaron Eisenberg, rest in peace, who famous for playing Nog on Deep Space Nine, is a captain in Star Trek Online. But Garrett Wang, who is alive, I haven't seen him in Star Trek Online. Maybe he's been there. I'll have to find out. Maybe is a captain on there. Oh, okay. So Star Trek Online, he is a captain. Okay. So fair enough. Okay. He eventually gets it, but still in a non-canon massive multiplayer online universe, which now now to be fair, some people could argue that Nog is a war hero, and he was definitely that. Very instrumental during the Dominion War. Watched him get promoted rapidly, but Harry Kim was also part of a crew that did something that no other Starfleet vessel had ever done. Well, there was one other ship that got blasted out there, but that's a whole episode of Voyager. We'll talk about someday down the road where they have to fight each other and they try to take over the Voyager and all that stuff. There was another ship that the caretaker flung out there, but I just recently learned about that. I was, going through my rewatches. But anyway, that's it. That was my rabbit hole. Just like I just don't just keep the characters the same. I like the connections. I mean, I thought it would have been cool. I mean, and for a longest time, I thought that Vorik was the same Vulcan from Lower Decks, but no, they could be twins. They could be twin brothers. That is correct. They could because I mean, the actor who plays Torek and Vorik portray the character identically. He's impetuous, kind of a know-it-all, kind of always, a little bit pushy as far as his ideas go. The only time you really see him step out of character is that one episode when he goes into Pon Far and tries to mate with B'Elanna, and he gets really aggressive. But yeah, we missed May the 4th. We missed May the 4th. And I got to throw this on the air. My friend here, my co-host, has admitted to not watching Andor. Now, to be fair, I have not watched the actual television show Lower Decks yet, the animated story show. I have not watched that yet. My only exposure to that show is when the animated characters appeared in an episode of Discovery, live action in Discovery. Was it Discovery or was it Strange New Worlds? Right, right. That's right, because they're right, right. And when Pike is in the med bay or whatever, and he walks up to the one crewman from the future, and he's like, "Hi, and he's like, Captain Pike." You know, like, holy shit, it's Captain Pike. But yeah, without spoiling anything, when it comes to Andor, one thing I thought was interesting, another article I read, because I'm always reading something. I feel like Hermione from Harry Potter, and I hate that I just mentioned that whole franchise, but um, you know, I was reading the other night. I was in the library this one time in the library. Right. Yeah. And not library, but but somebody was complaining in an article, or somebody was writing about somebody who was complaining that in the show Andor, you never see Vader or the Emperor. And I want to just say that I agree with this article author's, the writer's take when he said, you don't need to see them all the time. Okay. I mean, first of all, you've got this isn't Star Trek, okay? The leader of the Empire, the Empire Emperor himself, doesn't need to show up all the time. I mean, how loosely in Star Trek did they throw around like the leaders of all these different species? Like Gowron just shows up willy nilly on Deep Space Nine. No, no major security or anything. The leader of the Klingon Empire just like shows up. The Grand Nagus of the Ferengi. How many times he just show up? Just like
Always. Like
there are
this.
people in our own government who can't get, I hate to use this term, an audience with our dear leader because they're not deemed important enough. But yet,
Of course not.
that'd be like Donald Trump showing up to the front lines of World War II or three if like Gowron leading the charge in
That would
the Dominion War.
never happen.
No. And
Never
the
happen.
author of this article made a good point that, and Vader is second in command. Now, you can argue that this time period, this is pre Rogue One and Andor, so he's probably
Hmm.
not quite second in command yet. I think Grand Moff Tarkin is still outranks Vader because we know he outranks Vader in A New Hope.
Right.
Because when Vader's choking that one dude and Tarkin's like, stop it, you gotta stop it. But then he gets blown up.
Say, dude.
And I think that still has something to do with the Emperor not fully trusting Vader yet, so he's kind of keeping him at arm's length. Like you can have some power, you just can't have.
Mm. Right. Yeah, I could believe that. Yeah. I mean,
But Vader is busy.
he's
He
very
doesn't need to
busy.
be in this. He's busy. He's busy right now in
He's
this
a
time
busy.
period. He's busy.
He's a busy man. He's a busy man. He got a
He's
Death Star. He's got an
well, they're still
emperor.
building the Death Star at this point. So I mean, he's out there just hunting Jedi.
Yeah. So
That's his job.
he got Jedi. He got Inquisitors. He
Mm-hmm.
got Inquisitors that are you know inquisiting, turning on him. They turn on each other. He got Obi-Wan. He's trying to find. He got Obi-Wan. Just steadily beating his ass.
Yeah.
and and George in the comments says, "I thought Trump was the Grand Nagus."
Right. Right. So
Well,
since we're kind of doing this part two love letter, the page two of the
yeah.
love letter to Darth Vader, um, the question is, will Vader appear in future Star Wars projects?
I would say so. I mean, at least in projects where it would be appropriate for him to show up in. You know, like I wouldn't imagine him being, all front and center in Andor. I could imagine seeing a transmission here and there where Vader's in the background, something like that. Yeah.
Andor is ground level. Andor is ground level show. Vader is top tier.
Yeah.
He's not on the ground fighting a bunch of people that are making whispering in the shadows, talking about,
No.
you
And
know,
that way I could see them. The only way I could see Vader in that would be if, say, he's making a speech or something like that and it's being broadcast out, you know. Yeah, I can see something like that where he's doing like a speech and it's being broadcast out, and and that's it. Few seconds, boom.
I mean, we got the Emperor's Rise of Skywalker speech in Fortnite of all places. But
But that's another
I see
that's
George in the
that's another
comments
issue.
over there on YouTube. Hey, George. I'm not sure why you can't hear Angry. I just checked my feed from YouTube and I can hear him
Mm,
fine. So I've got him coming through on YouTube. Not sure maybe it's something on your end. Um, as far as
I don't know.
Vader, I mean, we do have confirmation that Hayden Christensen will reprise his role as Anakin in Ahsoka season 2. As to
Awesome.
whether we get a Vader series, I've seen before I before I Death Starred my Facebook account again for the second time. Um, there were some rumors going around, like those clickbait ads saying, "Oh, Vader series to launch on Disney Plus." There's no
Yeah.
confirmation of that as of right now. So there is no
So
confirmation of a
yeah.
series or solo movie. It was a fake trailer that was made. Okay, good. Glad you can hear him now.
So yeah, I heard a rumor of that, but like I said, I haven't seen any like concrete evidence or any proof or just anything. So I'm not saying that something like that wouldn't be in the works. Probably could. Um, but as it stands right now, I don't think there is. Not plans for a Vader show, anyways.
No, but it is important to note that before his passing, James Earl Jones did, in fact, authorize Disney to use his voice for future Vader projects, whether it be AI generated or voice
Mm-hmm.
cloning, anything like that. So, I mean, they do have the ability to do that. And I'm gonna say this again. I believe it was Scott Lawrence who voiced him in the Jedi Apprentice video game. Scott Lawrence nailed it. All right, he
Hey,
nailed it.
he's he is perfect. He's perfect for
Hmm. And he's a good actor too. He's been in a lot of different stuff. I've seen him various things. I mean, all the way back to Time Cop. God, he was in Time Cop.
it. Oh my god! Wait, what?
He was in Time Cop. Holy cow! I can't believe that. But yeah, he's been in Avatar and stuff like that and what have you. But he
Wow.
did a fantastic job in Jedi Apprentice, and I think that he should do it again. Tales of the Underworld on Disney Plus, pretty good series. Is that Star Wars based? I don't know of that one. Since I moved, I have not had a lot of
Mm.
access to a lot of my streaming services because I stream
Now,
most everything on my PlayStation. I don't have my PlayStation set up yet. I'm waiting to mount my TV on my wall, like right here. So then I'm gonna have
now,
like a massive screen.
if that's the one I'm thinking of, there's one. It came out early this year. It was Tales of the Sith, Tales of something like that. But yeah, it was the animated one.
Yeah, it looks like Star Wars shorts, maybe. Is it
Something
maybe
like
similar to short tracks? Because they're
something
only
like
like
that. Yeah,
15
it's
minutes
like it's
long.
like 15, 16 minute long episodes. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
becoming very popular because I mean we still every time I go to say something I lose on the show with the Mega Man short and the Pac Man short. Well,
Yes.
Secret level,
Yes.
right? Fantastic, and I love these little short bits. I mean, the short treks were great. You know,
Yeah. Absolutely. Just like give you like little snippets of
I'll have
just
to check these out too because it looks like Asajj Ventress plays a pretty
yeah.
strong role
That's
in some of these. I've always liked her character. Cad
yeah.
Bane
So
is back again, and he died kind of unceremoniously in the Book of Boba Fett. But
yeah.
I just
But
I
some
just
of those,
think
I
that
mean, I watched the Asajj Ventress one. That was really good. Um, I haven't watched the rest of them yet on this season, but yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're just like that. They're like the Star Trek shorts.
mm,
Just give me like little snippets and stories of just like different characters that within this whole Star Wars universe. You know.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I will check that out. I will check that out. I will have to watch that downstairs because again, I don't have my PlayStation set up here, and despite my dad's best attempts, we can't seem to get me logged into his Disney Plus on my computer. It will not accept his password, even though he's changed it 7 times. And whenever I get the code, like it says, they send him
Mm-hmm.
a code to his email. They're like, put the code in, and I put it in, and it won't work. So I don't know. And Disney's not one of those things that makes a big deal about sharing your account. So that's just you, Netflix,
Yeah.
because you
That's
guys are
a
assholes.
Netflix. Y'all are assholes.
Mm-hmm. You're
Respectfully.
assholes. Disrespectfully, even. You're assholes. I'm not happy with it. I'm just not. I'm not happy.
I
Anyway,
said no. But Vader, yeah, definitely truly iconic character. And quite honestly, within the series, any series that they have planned coming out, I can see him kind of here and there in like not a whole role where you see him boots on the ground type of thing, but definitely in like a hologram giving like a general speech type of thing.
mm,
Because
they did that
Empire,
a few times in Rebels.
yeah,
I mean,
I can see something
he
like
did have
that.
some boots on the ground episodes, but I mean, he did do just hologram stuff too.
Yeah, so as far as like shows like Andor or stuff like that, yeah, I see just a hologram image of him, just few speech, few seconds, that's it. But ones like Ahsoka, oh yeah, he's gonna be boots on the ground.
Now,
You know.
what I always wanted to see, and they kind of gave us a little bit of a teaser at the very end of the season finale of Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
I had always wanted, initially, I wanted a movie, maybe a series would work, but maybe that might just be overkill. Um, I wanted a show that focused mostly on Palpatine and Vader and sort of their interactions in the early years leading up to A New Hope.
Yeah.
And they gave us a little touch that like the opening level of the video game The Force Unleashed, where you're
Mm-hmm.
Vader and you're on Kashyyyk trying to hunt down that rogue Jedi that's out there, and you're just basically
Right.
just walking through the level, destroying everything in your path because you're Vader, you know. But I sort of wanted something like that, but I don't know. Now that I've seen a little bit of it at the end of Obi-Wan, I don't know that we would need a movie or a series about that. But he definitely needs to be some kind of ominous presence in the background.
Oh yeah,
One
absolutely.
thing that Andor did really well is that the Emperor was still a domineering presence throughout the show, even though he never saw him. They referenced him a
Mm-hmm.
lot. They talked about him a lot. They called him by name a lot. I don't think that I can recall they ever once even mentioned Vader. Now, I go back to what I said before. He didn't need to be in the episode because he's busy. He's elsewhere. He's not down here dealing with this petty shit. But, you
No.
know, to see how his myth affects people on these ground level stories would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Even just a
Yeah.
side comment like, no, we got to be careful because if, Palpatine sends you know who, we're fucked. We're fucked.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
And
But
given that this show leads up to Rogue One, which leads up to ends minutes before A New Hope starts, and you see all of those guys in that hallway get fucked.
hmm so yeah. Yeah, pretty much that scene right there, you know, for me that shows you how truly terrifying Vader really is.
Absolutely. And I don't need to see any more fights. I'm just throwing this out there, Disney. I don't need to see any more fights where Vader gets his mask busted up. If you're going to bring Vader back, you're going to have him on screen. Now was the time to show him in his full glory, just like you did in the hallway scene of Rogue One. I don't want to see him. I want to see people getting one up on him.
Yeah.
Now it's time for
Uh,
the hammer to come down. I
so
want
now
to
it's
see
time
him
to
absolutely ruthless.
yeah, now it's time for Vader to be, the dominating Vader. Like the
Right.
one that yeah, they're scared of, but the Vader that, that we were all first introduced to is the Vader they feared. Like
Yeah, and even his evolution into the one that we see in the original trilogy. Techno George made a comment where he quoted, Vader's like, "Apology accepted,
accepted Captain.
Captain Nita." We
So
go
yeah.
from, I think, a fantastic scene in the Obi-Wan series is when Vader comes charging down that hallway, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "You were warned," and he force lifts the third sister, um,
Mm-hmm.
played by Moses, somebody I can't remember her last name now. I'm still mad at all the shit she got. I thought she was fantastic in that show, by the way. But he that was a very, very angry Vader. So let's sort of see this transition from, because when you get to Empire Strikes Back and he says apology accepted, Captain Nita, he you can hear the anger undertones in his voice, but he's not yelling. He's not mad,
Yeah. It's like
you know? Or like when he says, asteroids do not concern me.
it's
He
like it's
almost
like
wants to yell,
it's
but
like
he doesn't.
it's that scary calm.
He's seething underneath and you
Yeah.
can feel
It's
it.
like you know he's pissed. And it's like you would want him to yell because at least if he yells, then it's like, okay, I know how
You
to
just know
take
he's mad.
that. I know how to take
You,
yelling. But
you just know he's straight up mad. Yeah, he's screaming
yeah,
at me. I'm in trouble. But
it's
when he's
a,
just like, "Hey, don't
but when he's like,
concern me," he almost might have been
asteroids
like,
don't concern me.
it's like back talk. Somebody talks to him, and I just see him turn around going, "Motherfucker!"
Yeah.
Like,
Said that's it's like, okay, let's not make eye contact. You know, yeah, that
because I
type of
mean,
thing.
throughout the originals trilogy, you don't ever see Vader really lose it. There's only one time that you see him get really mad, and that is when Luke gets that
Mm-hmm.
lucky shot on the bridge and hits him in the shoulder with the
Yep.
lightsaber. And he's just
See,
like,
he's like,
"Motherfucker." And then boom, off with your hand.
so yeah, and as soon as you hear him go, poof,
Yeah, he kind of
oh
goes, "Ooh," and he's like, "Oh, all right."
yeah, and then all of a sudden, just he used force, shit just starts flying, a hand is gone.
To address another comment by George, when Vader is pissed, someone gets promoted posthumously. Something we used to
Yes.
say for fun in the restaurant biz, whenever a cook or a server or an expediter dropped a plate or a dish tanker dropped a glass or something and it broke, everyone in the kitchen would scream simultaneously, "Job opening!" So every time Vader gets ticked off, I
So
just see
every time Vader
want to
gets
see
ticked
everyone
off,
on the
yeah,
bridge of the Star Destroyer like, "Job opening."
it's like, So who's next in line? Oh, not me. Please, not me. Don't let it be me. Don't let it be me. Don't let it be me. I don't want to be promoted.
Right, but you don't have a choice because even in Empire Strikes Back, after he kills the one and he turns around, he points to the one and he's like, Admiral.
He's like, oh,
Oh
oh
shit.
shit.
That the Empire is one of those great examples of if you've known any people that have been in the military.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that I know that are veterans or served time in the military have said the best way to get through the military is to not be the best, don't be the worst. You want to blend in somewhere in the middle. Obviously, you don't want to be the worst
Mm.
because you're going to get all the negative attention. And if
Right.
you're the best, you all the expectations fall on you.
Yeah, but you stick in the
So
middle.
do you think Admiral Nita was like, God damn
He's
it,
like,
I
God
could have just I
damn.
could have threw a couple questions on my entrance exam,
He's like,
you know?
God damn. I should have stayed in engineering. Why'd I have to come up to the bridge?
Right, exactly. That's the equivalent of Vader turning around going, Nita, go put on a red shirt.
Like, damn.
Like that joke in the reboots of Star Trek when
Right?
when Kirk tells Chekov to put on a red shirt and he's like, uh, uh, okay, damn it. But hey, to,
Oh,
to, to
damn.
Admiral Nita's credit, he was
Mm-hmm.
not actually killed until Vader's Star Destroyer was killed by a crashing A-wing, and then it floated on the surface of the Death Star too. So hey,
So, hey, yeah, there's that.
you survived Vader's wrath ish. I mean,
So far? You survived it so
still led to your
far?
downfall. Still led to your overall downfall, but at least he didn't kill you. He
I
didn't,
mean,
you weren't only he didn't just kill you, you weren't embarrassed in front of everybody too.
that is true, too. That is fact.
Like the one dude who just turns around and is
Yeah.
like, ah, Lord Vader, we've jumped out of hyperspace. We're now in orbit and just fall. Ah.
Oh,
And
man.
you got to
Yeah.
wonder, was there at some point when the Emperor, like Vader's just standing on the deck of the executor, and it's like, hey, Lord Vader is a transmission coming in, and and Palpatine's like, look, bruh, gotta quit killing all the officers, man. This is a big fleet. We need all the people we can get. If you're just choking them all to death, and I don't have Grand Moff Tarkin around anymore to keep you in line because he got
Because,
blowed up. He done
so,
got blowed
yeah.
up.
You got to think it's like the. And there was this lady that was on TikTok that was that would dress up as the Empire HR lady.
Oh God.
And so she was dressed, as full Empire, everything like that. It's dressed like like one of the pilots of the Death Star, right? I was just walking through and just giving stormtroopers violations, because HR violations for missing targets. We give like Rogue Guard violations of not
This
protecting
this is
this.
Dolores from HR.
Dolores from HR. That's it. Yes.
I love that her name is Dolores.
It was one of those guys that was cosplaying as Vader, and and she gave him a performance review, HR performance review.
Oh my God.
Oh my god! But yeah, she is hilarious. She is hilarious. That was the funniest one when she came up to Vader and gave him a performance review.
Well, I know. I'm looking at pictures of her too. I love how she's got like the glasses down, librarian look, like
Yes.
scolding you. Like,
Oh my god, her stuff is just hilarious. Oh my god, she was funny. But yeah, that was great. But another thing you had another thing, what more specifically you had said, and then it also got me curious as well. Your top 5 Vader moments. What are your top 5 Lord Vader,
top
Darth
five
Vader?
Vader moments. Wow.
It's a deep philosophical question.
It's a deep philosophical question, but there's a few, and one of them it kind of sneaks in there because it's kind of funny. So I saw this meme video that somebody put together, and it shows Luke and Vader. It's a scene from Return of the Jedi, and Luke does the backflip up onto the rail,
Uh huh.
and Vader's looking at him, and all of a sudden it flashes back to Revenge of the Sith, and it shows Anakin jumping over Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan cutting all his limbs off, and Anakin falling into the fire and starting to burn. And it flashes back to Vader again on the Death Star, staring at Luke, and he just decides to throw the lightsaber instead. It adds a
Although it
whole new
makes sense.
meaning, a whole new level to that, a
Yeah.
whole new level to.
Now that would make sense as to why he threw his lightsaber just trying to jump up there,
I ain't falling for that
It's
again.
like,
No.
fool me once.
Right, exactly. But that's I think if I got to go top five, that would be number five. That whole battle there. Um, again, when Vader's kind of walking under the stairs, Luke is hiding,
Mm-hmm.
and Vader's taunting him. You still
Yeah.
get a touch of that evil. He's like, if you will not be turned, then perhaps she will. That sort of thing. He's still goading and
Yeah.
so I would put that one at number five, definitely. I mean, and obviously leading into his redemption and stuff like that. But number four, we would be pleased if you could join us. When Han Solo walks into dinner and starts blasting,
Um,
and Vader just like
to
talk to the hand, talk to the hand. Like Han Solo, for all the love that everyone has for that character, you are
said
nobody against
said
Vader.
you can there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do. You are nobody. Yeah, absolutely nothing you could do.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's number 4.
Number
Three.
three, the fight between him and the third sister. From
Okay.
the moment he starts ripping the ship down out of the sky, which
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of the scene in The Force Unleashed when Star Killer's pulling that Star Destroyer down out of space. And he's
Yeah.
got that Jedi Master in his head who's just yelling at him. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Rip it down!" And that's what I'm just seeing Vader doing it. But then, like all the blocks, he's just blocking this chick's lightsaber with his hand. He never
Yeah.
draws his own lightsaber in that fight. In fact, he takes hers and breaks it
Mm-hmm.
in half and gives her a part of it back and fights her with her own lightsaber. Never once did he draw his own. But these
Yeah.
glimpses of his power, of his
Like
power. What?
I was about to say,
Did you have something to add to that?
I saw something that somebody had pointed out is that when Vader actually uses his lightsaber, he always
Mhm.
uses just one hand, always one hand,
Yes. Mhm.
and it's only when he sees that okay, this person is an actual can be an actual threat, is when he uses both hands.
Interesting thought, because if you watch Obi-Wan, when him and Obi-Wan square off on that planet in the final episode, you'll
Mm-hmm.
see Vader pull up his lightsaber like this, and he kind of does. I don't know if you can see my hands. He does the little like
Yeah.
flip of the fingers around
around the
he's
hilt.
in
Yeah,
full two-handed stance against Obi-Wan. So clearly he
yeah. So
accepts Obi-Wan as a challenge
yeah,
and not,
not just
he may be
just
arrogant, but
anybody. Yeah, and so and just seeing that, just knowing that he never took his saber out, that kind of shows that that's the kind of threat he took her as. She's not even worth taking my saber out.
no, he didn't even take his saber out. I mean, he at least fought Luke one-handed,
Yeah, and
in the
mm-hmm.
on Bespin. But I'll get to that in just a minute. Number two, this is gonna be my weird take, so I'm gonna flip flop. It's those two scenes. It's these two scenes. The hallway Vader scene is actually gonna be number two for me.
Okay.
Um, Again, like you said, I do agree that it showcases his extreme power and hatred, and also that he doesn't say a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
He never says a damn word. Those people aren't even worth talking to. He just cuts them down with no effort whatsoever. They can do nothing to him. It's a room full of Han Solos,
Yeah,
and they can do nothing to
yeah.
him.
They've got nothing on him.
Right. They're shooting at him. He's blocking the laser blast. He rips the guns out of their hands, and then proceeds to cut him down. My favorite scene with Vader, and I watch this one a lot, is always going to be the battle between him and Luke on Bespin on Cloud City. It's
Mm-hmm.
eerie. Um, I still get chills having seen it 1,000 times when Luke is kind of walking around the carbonite chamber. You start to hear Vader breathing.
And then all of a sudden,
And Vader says, "The Force
yeah,
is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet." Then you see him standing in that silhouette
yeah.
at the top of the stairs. And it's just like, mm,
It's like that scene right there, that shot right there.
that's,
Yeah.
and that is a seasoned Vader who's channeled his anger and not
Mm-hmm.
just raging mad all the time. But definitely, that's my and then finally when he walks into, before the final showdown, even on the bridge where he loses it a little bit, Luke's looking for him, and then Vader comes out of the hallway, and then the Imperial, a version of the Imperial theme starts, but it's kind of darker and ominous. And Vader doesn't even fight him; he just ripping stuff off the wall with his mind, with the Force, throwing it at him,
Yeah.
and Luke's just flailing uselessly. But it's a good example too. That, I mean, how long was Luke even on?
On Dagobah,
A couple weeks, maybe.
at the time, I think for me, I believe it. I want to say it had to have been a month. Had to have been a month.
I'm gonna check now. Let's see. Yeah, everywhere from a few weeks to possibly a month is the general consensus. It's implied to be the time it took the Millennium Falcon to travel to Bespin with a damaged hyperdrive, which could have taken a month. Yeah. So yeah, you got
Yeah.
to consider that the Millennium Falcon is traveling at sublight speeds.
Yeah. So
That's just not convenient, uh, you know, to travel between systems.
right, right. So
So
yeah,
yeah,
because me, I always took into account of it. Just wasn't. It wasn't like the next day he was running around with Yoda on his back just doing flips. You know that took time.
right.
That had to
Took
take
time.
some time. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you and I weren't, first of all, old, and
Right.
let's
Like if
say
I
that,
mean if we were like
we were in our 20s and we went and started a
yeah,
gymnastics class.
yeah,
We're not going to be tumbling across the mat in 3 days.
no,
The running and the flipping and the jumping and stuff that they do in the Olympics and shit.
yeah.
We're not going to
So,
be
no, I
doing
mean we're
that.
not.
That doesn't require the force. That's just jumping and balance and not landing on your head.
Yeah, so I mean, and at that point, up until then, the most we saw Luke use the Force was, you know, shooting the missiles into the exhaust port in the Death Star and pulling his lightsaber toward him. When he was in Hoth.
Hmm.
That's
Very basic stuff.
the main stuff, yeah.
Right.
And
And
just for
even
him to
then,
pull his lightsaber,
even his communication with Vader as they were escaping Bespin, I
yeah,
think was instigated by Vader himself.
yeah. And so at that point, kind of Luke knew basic stuff, how to bring stuff, towards you, how to force pull, force push. That's essentially that was it.
And you see his lack of experience too, because Vader says something like, impressive,
He
and
said
Luke
most
says,
impressive, yeah.
you'll find I'm full of surprises, and Vader one-handedly disarms him, just like, oh yeah, you know, you want to go pick that up. But yeah, definitely
Mhm.
that's my favorite scene. Will always be my favorite scene. Although the hallway scene does absolutely give a whole new weight to Vader's first on-screen appearance
Yeah.
when he walks through the stormtroopers blow the door and he walks in and kind of looks around. You're just like, that dude just murdered like 12 people like 8 minutes ago. Like literally just
Like,
murdered like 12 people.
like just in less than a minute. I don't know how I did it.
And that was
But
definitely the big surprise. I'll give a couple of quick honorable mentions. Obviously, the
mm-hmm.
flashbacks that you see in the Ahsoka series, you know, when she's watching him walk away into the Clone Wars, Anakin, and then it kind of flashes for a second. You see Vader for a minute, and then,
Yeah.
those aren't really Vader scenes, but, or when he's coming at her on the Sky Bridge
Mm-hmm.
in the world, the world between worlds and stuff. That's kind of neat. Um, and then to address George in the comments, I do like that when his mask is damaged, he's talking to Obi-Wan, and there's kind of that interchanging of
Mm-hmm.
Anakin's voice and Vader's voice. I like the way they do that, but I'm still going to issue a complaint here because when Anakin is saying, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker," and he says, "I did," they missed an opportunity there for when he says "I did" to not be Hayden Christensen's voice. It should have flashed to Vader's voice, to emphasize that it was Vader that killed Anakin, not because in a way, Vader and Anakin are two different individuals, like a split personality almost. And just these little things that they missed. Same thing in
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka. When Ahsoka says, "What if I don't want to fight?" And Anakin says, "Then you'll die." He should not have said, "Then you'll die." He should have said, "Then you'll meet your destiny," because that's what Vader says. If you will not fight, then you will. I've said this before. We've already had this conversation. If you will not
Mm-hmm.
fight, you will meet your destiny. And throws the lightsaber because he's not falling for the high ground shit again. Even
All
when Luke
right.
is at the top of the stairs, you notice how cautiously Vader slowly walks up the stairs in the fight in the Emperor's throne room.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't flip and jump. He just walks up the stairs slowly.
Yeah. He knows what happens.
He knows what happens.
Okay. All right.
All
That
right.
leads me.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
What about you?
say my number five. My number five is in return. In return, when he and Luke are talking, like just before the fight, just before the Emperor, when Luke surrenders himself,
And
like
the
just before,
gangway
yeah,
when the
right in that
when the
plankway.
AT-AT walker he gets
Mm-hmm.
offloaded from the AT-AT by the stormtroopers.
Yep,
Like he
and
was
then
carrying only this.
and carrying only this, and showed his lightsaber, and just saw. He say, "Okay, yeah, the lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Okay, you'll serve. And just having that interaction, and you can see Luke is still. I know you're Anakin. I know you're in there. I know this. And it's just that whole interaction of, no, I'm Vader. I'm Vader.
Right. That
I'm
name no
Vader.
longer has any meaning for me. No, it
Said
is the name
no.
of your true self you've just forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great scene. I do like that one. And props to David Prowse, who was in the costume for that movie.
Mm-hmm.
The emoting that he did through body language. When you have a
Yeah,
mask that is stagnant and you can't make facial expressions,
and you have
you
to
could
rely on your
feel
body language. You have to
you
kind
could
of,
feel the struggle that
yeah,
was going on inside.
and you see, and just at the end when the troopers are walking him off, and he's over on, and essentially he goes at the edge of that plankway, and you see that he's sitting and staring. It's like, wait, maybe I am Anakin,
Yeah, dude's thinking.
and
You got dude thinking.
yeah, and you see him that he starts to kind of doubt himself. So that was number 5 for me. Number four actually was the fight with Luke at Bespin, because essentially is that, and I didn't notice this until when the person noted about how Vader fights, whether he uses no saber, one handed or two handed, depending on how much of a threat he sees you as. And he started out with Luke one handed. Throughout the course of the fight, you can see he sometimes he switches to two and sometimes he goes back to one, but essentially a lot of times he's two handed, because now he's seeing that although Luke has some training in the Force, he's still strong with the saber. So he kind of gave him that credit on that one, which of course naturally at the end he did whoop his ass and cut his hand off, and then hey. And so it was just that whole scene of that twist at the end, and then seeing how much of a threat Vader first saw him as to where he sees him as now. So that was my number 4. The third one. The third one was kind of a, well, the third one was basically the just like how George said in the comment, was that fight with him and Obi-Wan where he damaged his mask and saying that you didn't kill Anakin, I did. And to a point, I agree that having Vader's voice saying I killed him would have been I guess a little bit more apropos. But I kind of push back on that a little bit and saying it should have had both of their voices kind of imposed on each other,
I would accept that. I would accept that. Yeah.
because then it would be like, yeah, I Anakin worked with Vader to kill this version of me off so I could be full on Vader.
Right. And I would back that statement up too, because there are people out there that do believe, I mentioned it, that Vader and Anakin are two different people. In my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, I believe that's kind of a cop out.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're two different people. They are the same person. It's
Yeah.
just,
Like I get
changing of a name.
like
Darth
I
is not even a name, it's a title.
yeah. And so with them it's like, yeah, you get one that it's a split personality type of thing, but he's aware of the other person. And so
He knows what he
okay,
did.
that yeah,
Knows what he
yeah,
did.
that's yeah. But for me it would feel like, having both of their voices kind of imposed on each other would be sort of like a passing of the torch of him fully going from fully cementing final nail in the coffin of him turning to the dark side.
Right.
And the
Absolutely. Because
light
that
side of, yeah,
conversation
his light side
was
accepting that he's gone dark side.
right. And that conversation is a lot darker than the one that he had in Rebels versus Ahsoka when she essentially did the same thing. Cut his mask in half,
Yeah.
and he's talking to her, but he was more Anakin than I think in a way.
Yeah.
He sounded less, I don't know. He wasn't conflicted when he was talking to Obi-Wan at the end of that series.
No. No, the end of Obi-Wan, it was clear he
There
hates.
is no conflict.
It was clear at the end of Obi-Wan, he hates Obi-Wan. That is.
Yeah.
But my second one is his motivation, um, motivational lesson with Ahsoka. To in the world in between worlds where they had to fight and it
Hmm.
delved into part of the Clone Wars and whatnot. And
This is your training.
so what is
That
it?
whole
Yeah, just that whole motivational thing. But I don't understand. And we've talked about this before about them saying that, well, what if I don't want to fight? Then you'll die. It's not how he would have said it.
not how he
Not
talks. Not how he talks.
Yeah, he would have been a little bit more poetic with it because I mean, when he
Because
was
Vader
he,
is melodramatic.
yeah, because when he was trying to, well, when he was trying to get with Padme, what was he doing? The whole romantic gestures. You know, let's have the romantic lunch. Let me feed you an apple using the force. Let's go for a walk. Let's have the deep, meaningful talks, and let's that he would have been a little bit more poetic than you're just gonna die. Of course, yeah, she's
Right.
gonna die if you don't fight. Yeah, you're gonna be in a yeah, you're going to die. Yes, that's obvious. But I mean, you're Jedi. Your whole belief and philosophy is the Force. So essentially saying something that's like, well, what if I don't want to fight? Then you will become one with the Force.
Something.
You know,
But it wouldn't
something
just be
to
like
that degree, but not just like, well, you're just
he's
gonna
not going to be
die.
like you're going to buy. Well, then you'll buy the farm. He's not going to be kick the
Like,
bucket.
yeah,
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah.
He would be
So
more poetic.
yeah, you know, something like that. Just no, just no. Like Dave Filoni. This message for you, Dave Filoni. You could have come up with something better. You could have come up with something better than that. Come on, man. Come on, man. So that was that one. You will be a force ghost. George in the
Drum roll.
comments says, if you don't want to fight, you'll be a force ghost.
Be a force ghost. Funny thing about his previous comment too, where he says Sith believes in absolutes. It's always a funny thing in that scene when Obi-Wan fights Anakin the first time on Mustafar,
Mm-hmm.
and Obi-Wan says only a Sith deals in absolutes. Excuse me, sir, that was an absolute.
Yes. That
And
wouldn't that be an
so
absolute, sir?
apparently Jedi deal in absolutes as well.
At least with the Sith, they're a little bit more honest about it.
Right, right. They're not trying to hide it or anything, but
Right. And so, of course, my number one scene, as I stated before, is that hallway scene in Rogue One. And just shows just how truly terrifying he is. And the only thing you hear is him breathing, laser fire, and everybody yelling for help. That, within that 30 to 45-second frame, that shows you how truly terrifying Vader is to anybody other than Obi-Wan. Basically, Obi
Yeah, I
Wan.
mean, the whole sequence is barely over 2 minutes. I mean, and that's all the way up until he's walking out into the
Yes.
wreckage and watching the Leia's Corvette take off.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Tantive 4, I believe is what it's called. But yeah, I mean, and just that dude pounding on the glass, somebody help us. I mean,
Yes.
the
And just
terror.
showing the fear in his face. That right there. That is Vader. That shows you the quintessential Vader. You know, that
The one we
shows
hear
you,
about more than we actually see.
yeah. Say, yeah, that's, we see Vader in action instead of being the whole poetic side of it, and addressing this and wanting to address this and that. And no, we see Vader about that action. He about that action today.
Well, George, I
uh,
mean, you are going to have there are many
oh,
canonical
there's,
discrepancies throughout Star
say,
Wars.
yo,
We have this problem with Star Trek as well. When you get a franchise that's as big as either of these,
yeah,
um,
there's going to be
Gil
cracks. There's
Gilbert
going
was
to be
saying it in pre-show about Doctor Who. The and that's been going on for what?
well over 50 years now, 60
Well over
years
50
now.
years. Yeah, and it didn't have nearly as many hiatuses as, let's
Mm.
say, Star Trek or Star Wars did, where they took years off. I
Yeah.
mean, after Return of the Jedi, no one knew if Star Wars was ever coming back again. There were
Hmm.
rumors that he was going to make other movies, but
Nothing.
even between 1984 and 1999, or 83 and 99, I mean, that was
That's
a long
16
time,
years. So I
16
mean,
years. Yeah.
so it's like how many times you're gonna hear, yeah, yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah, yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah, yeah, I'm working on it until you know you're just gonna be like, okay, this guy's not gonna do anything. And then the second you're like, oh yeah, this guy's not gonna do anything. Oh, if we got
This is why Doctor Who scares me so much, though. I just need to say this. As of November 23rd or 21st of 2023,
mm-hmm.
there were a total of 871 Doctor Who episodes. 871. 871.
Yep, that is correct. I guess I'm not seeing all of them. I'm not gonna even say that. Yeah, I've seen every one of them. No, I'm not. I'm not seeing all of them, and
Right.
I don't care anybody that watches this in the comments. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Come at me. I don't care. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I love Doctor Who. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But I've not seen every episode, and nor I'm not going to go back and just say, "Oh well, let me just see this episode," because I'm not doing that. I'm not. I'm not gonna do that. That's just it. Oh my gosh. Yes, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, I know you're hungry.
That's
I know you're hungry.
it would take years to watch all of them.
Yes, it would. Stop. Stop.
Especially now that I'm reading an article like earlier today, I read something that said like they're bringing back a character and a villain or something like it was hasn't been seen on the show in 40 years, and they're bringing him back, and it's like, holy shit, I gotta go back 40 years to know who this villain is.
So they've been this new this new series that they put on Disney Plus. They've been bringing back villains from the '60s. Like just weird, obscure villains from the '60s. They've been bringing back.
Is it Omega? Is the villain I read the
Yeah,
article about earlier? Looks kind of like
Yeah,
Galactus in a weird sort of way,
yeah, that's about right. Like there's a
but
lot of characters and stuff like that, and plot hole and plots and stuff like that. Just really similar to a lot of Marvel movies, DC movies, just
oh yeah, it's a
and
huge,
yeah,
it's a
it's
massive multiverse kind of
yeah,
thing, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And then depending on who's writing the episode will depend on whether or not if it's more science based or more emotionally, emotional charged.
You see
So
that with Star Trek a lot. Yep.
mm-hmm.
Throughout the years. But my roommate has a string of lights on her front patio, and the lights are all tiny TARDISes. It's a string of lights, and little TARDISes hanging off of them that light up. So it's like she's a big fan of Doctor Who, but I don't know how far back her love goes. I mean, I'm sure she watches the Disney version show, but I know it's gained Doctor Who gained significant prominence and popularity over the last several years
Yeah,
and
yeah,
several Doctor incarnations that we've had. So
yeah. Because generally, for most people, depending on where you started watching Doctor Who, would be your favorite Doctor. So I started watching during Tom Baker, so Tom Baker is
Tom
my
Baker's
favorite.
the one I remember. That's the
Mm.
one my dad was watching. It's the one I remember. So,
Yeah.
and
So,
I know he's made some reappearances on later shows, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah. Throughout the
He is
whole,
91 years old,
yeah, yeah. He's old. He looks like almost like a
best known as
skeleton now.
for playing the fourth and longest serving incarnation of the Doctor. So yeah, obviously he's the
Mm.
one a lot of people think of if you knew it at all when you were growing up, especially if you're Gen X or
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
let's say I'm going to say later millennial. I'm not going to say older. Fuck that guy. But anyway, next week, yeah, uh, piece of the action.
Piece of the
We still got
action
to
next
do a
week.
Doctor Who episode, but I got to watch. Yeah, I might have to let you give me a list of episodes to go watch, like must see episodes, and then
Yes.
I can better talk about that particular fandom.
So, yeah, definitely the one to watch. Blink. That's definitely one to watch.
Okay, piece of paper again, and my new note taking fountain pen.
Ooh,
I
somebody's
bought
fancy.
no, I bought an actual fountain pen. Very interesting and fun to write with. But yeah, next week though, again, we mentioned it earlier in the show. It's a piece of the action, she.
It's a piece of the action, see? It's the first episode I ever watched of Star Trek, see? So
The
it's
original series, Star Trek Season 2, Episode 17. And we'll do something a little more fun too, since we're sort of doing a prolonged, belated celebration of our 1 year anniversary of the rules of Nerdquisition after our hiatus from my trek across the country. Although I would have much preferred a trek across the stars, to be honest. But hey,
haha. I see what you did there. I
see
see
what I
what
did
you
there.
did there.
Unfortunately, I did watch or rewatch the movie Explorers on Pluto TV on demand, and I still don't know how to come up with that little space bubble so I can build my own Thunder Road and leave Earth. And I was actually thinking of you the other day, George, when it comes to modeling, because I was looking online about like people who had done um, their own little lit models of the Thunder Road, which is the spacecraft that they built, the three kids built
Oh,
with Ethan Hawke, the
yeah.
late great River Phoenix, and I don't know the other kid's name. But
Oh, I mean, there was a guy on Model Citizen that his name is Ray Vaughn, and of course he's a model builder and huge, big time nerd, just like us, and really great guy. And so I invite him on the show, anytime we want to, because I mean, honestly,
sure,
he would definitely fit in perfect. He is super awesome guy.
excellent. Yeah, nerds welcome. All nerds welcome. So yeah,
So
but next week we'll talk about the origin of angry IT
Yes.
nerds nerddom into Star Trek at least. I mean, you're kind of born a nerd. There was
Say,
always something before that,
well,
but
yeah. And then we will get the best fight scene I've ever seen in the entirety of my life in that episode. Oh, that's the best fight scene I've ever seen.
yeah, so don't miss
Oh,
that one.
William
As for
Shatner.
what our
Yeah.
second half topic is, I don't know yet.
Oh no,
We'll
we'll
have to
figure it out.
discuss that. We'll figure it out, and it'll be as much of a surprise to you as it likely will be a surprise to us because we go everywhere. This is the ADHD train, and once you get on it, where we go,
Hey,
nobody knows.
just enjoy the ride. Enjoy
It
the
goes
ride, and
wherever Wild Hair sends us.
so yep, I do believe that'll be the end of our time. We're coming close to the end of the show. The
We both have
so
dogs that need to go out.
say yes, and so she's been
I can hear mine barking downstairs. And my
yeah,
roommate is not
cupcake
here.
boy.
She's visiting friends and her mother today, so I'm going to go walk the dog and do that fun stuff. But we'll be back, same Trek time, same Trek channel, or same nerd time, same nerd channel, however you want to put it. And
Right.
we'll talk about piece of the action. Other than that, I will, as is customary, leave the final farewells to our friend, the angry IT nerd, and I'll see you next week.
All right. So everybody, hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you had a couple laughs, and if you watch this, hey, leave it below in the comments of, hey, what's your top 5 Vader moments? Let us, let us know. We want to know because we're nosy. We're nosy like that, okay?
Nosy nerds.
We're nosy, but we're lovingly nosy. So, anyways, everybody, keep your triple spayed and neutered. Live long and prosper. Take care.